everyone, this is Valerie Gregoire. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to share with you a brief video on why I incorporated sound healing therapy into my natural health consulting business. Now, I've been a natural health consultant for 30 years and I've studied in this field for 40 years. And primarily I worked with herbs, vitamins, diet, and lifestyle changes to help people improve their health and to heal their body. And I enjoyed this, I loved it, but I did meet a few obstacles over the years and I wanted to find a way to get around them, okay? So when I started, I think I was probably 19 years old, and I worked in a health food store in Page, Arizona, and I didn't know too much about natural health at the time. I kind of landed the job because I was interested in the field, because it had helped me as far as giving up sugar, had helped me tremendously with improving depression at that time. So I wanted to know more. And I walked into the health food store looking for a job, and the woman who owned it was close to 80 years old, and she really didn't want to be there anymore. And her daughter didn't want to run the store at the time. She ran a record store that was adjacent to this store. So the owner gave me the job and just kind of threw me into it. So she stayed home a lot more after that point, and they did luckily have a large book selection. So I would read all the books, and I had this really good memory as far as if I read something, I'd know which book it came out of. I don't know why that happened, but it did at the time. And so when a customer would come and ask me for some help, I would just run to one of the books and open them up and say, see, this is what it says. This is how we can fix the situation. So that's how I started, and I worked with people over the years. I got some training and certification, of course, over that time. But one of the obstacles I came to, especially noticing this about 10 years ago, was that people were getting maybe a little lazy or a lack of motivation. What they were doing was they were making a few dietary changes, a few lifestyle changes, but they were working with the supplements primarily as a substitute for medication. And so they were using the supplements more to control or eliminate symptoms rather than to assist their body's natural healing ability. And so I thought that there was some kind of disconnection. How can we connect people to that inner healer that we all have, okay, within us? We have a natural healing ability. When you cut your hand, you automatically, the cut heals, right? So what is that? How do we tap into it? Well, I can't discuss all of this right now, obviously, trying to keep my videos short, but this is what was going through my mind at the time, okay? And so I happened upon sound healing, and there was a journey to take, which I'll share with you another time. But I happened upon sound healing, and this here was the first set of tuning forks that I came across, okay? And the first classes I took in sound healing were around this. These are the Soma Energetics Solfeggio tuning fork set. And I took the phase 1 and phase 2 of their courses, and I began to work with frequency and sound. And I began to get amazed at the things that I was seeing happening within myself and within people that I began to practice on. Sound healing works on a vibrational level. And we are, even though we think of ourselves as solid human beings, okay, we're actually made of energy and information, and we're not really solid at all. It's just that nor is anything else we see in our physical world. It's just that it all appears solid and feels solid because our senses, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our hands, they're all calibrated, so to speak, to recognize a lower frequency vibration. And so we see at that frequency level, so things appear more solid than they actually are. But illness occurs in the body, but at first it's an energetic thing, and then it slowly consolidates down to a slower and slower frequency where it actually manifests on a physical level. And so when you work with sound healing, you're working with these frequencies of shifting the energy that triggered pain to occur, or that triggered constriction to occur, that triggered you to hold on to something and help you release something. Another thing I should mention in regard to this is that I also started to notice primarily 10 years ago that emotions and thoughts were really affecting how we healed. And at the time, that was fairly new information. Not everyone knew about it, but now I think even you're probably hear all the time that that our thoughts are creating or influencing our health. We know that our thoughts influence our DNA, for instance, turning it on or turning it off. So positive thoughts can actually turn on health building DNA. And walking around with negative thoughts in a bad mood all the time can turn off those genes and turn on disease forming DNA. So we're not just physical beings, we're energetic beings. So if we want to take the holistic approach that I've always taken for these 40 years, then we have to move into the field of vibration. And that includes sound and light, and embracing feelings, mindfulness, meditation, prayer. It's all these things that work on a more energetic, invisible realm. And so step into these tuning forks, and this particular tuning fork is the 741 hertz solfeggio frequency fork that works primarily on the throat chakra. It works in the head region. It's very good for the eyes, the ears, the voice, for expression and communication. It works on the level of helping you to express these things that have been held down for many years. You want to tell somebody something, but you feel bad, so you don't say it. And it gets stifled and stuck in this area. And that stuck energy could affect your thyroid gland function, because that's right in that area as well. So it's going to also interfere with the flow of energy through your head into your lower chakra, into the body. So your connection with the divine, with God, with the creator, with the universe, that connection needs to flow into your heart chakra so that you can embrace it and understand it. And then from there, you move it on into your physical body. But if your throat chakra is blocked, that flow of energy is blocked as well. So you can see how this can get really interesting and complex. But the thing is that sound healing has such pure frequencies. You don't need to really know what you're doing. You just have to let the sound guide you, and it will do the balancing for you. Okay? So this type of tuning fork is one where you listen to the tuning fork frequency. And this one, which is the same frequency fork, has these little weights on the top. And they send the sound frequency down into the stem of the fork, and they're used on the body to bring the vibration into the body, where these are going to send the sound outward. You can hear them. They're not real musical because they're a pure frequency, but they're very pleasant and very healing. So just to give you a comparison, this 741 fork, and forgive me if my microphone doesn't relay this to you as properly. I'm getting a new microphone for my sound therapy so I can do more videos, but hopefully this will resonate through and you'll be able to hear it. So you would use this fork around the throat area, around the ears, if you were having maybe ringing in the ears or troubles with congestion. You might use this fork around the eye area, or for the mind and the third eye, just to open up your intuition. And it has a very calming energy on muscles as well. So any tension, you could use it over the body to release tension. Whereas this body fork, okay, you can't hear it. And this, I'm tapping on the soft part of my hand here because it doesn't hurt. I don't like to do that with the other fork. But you could hear a hum, I think, from this one. So it's just got a beautiful little hum. So I still, before I would use a fork like this, I would listen to the hum and then place it maybe in the area of a headache. Place it where my jaw is tight. Maybe TMJ is bothering you. So you place it there. And when you learn to work with these forks, you can learn to follow the pain down and find the area where it's connecting to and release it at each stage. In fact, this it was either this morning or yesterday morning, I woke up with a sinus headache here. The weather shifted and they've been cutting hay in the field next door. So I think there was more allergens in the air. But I woke up and it was all congested and I had a headache. And I keep one of many tuning forks next to my bed. I have them all over the house, really. But so I did not want to wake up with a congestion in my sinuses and a headache. I was just not going there. So before I even get out of bed, I just reach over and I get my fork that I keep by my bedside, tap it, and I started to work on this area here where I could feel was swollen and painful. And you would just run it through that area until it stopped vibrating. And then I just continued onward trying to figure out, like, I think that pain is going up to this spot, so I'll work here. And God, you only need to do it for a few minutes because these forks are very powerful. So I got done, put it down, laid in bed a few more minutes, got up, no headache, no congestion. That's how wonderful they are. So the thing is, the tuning forks and other instruments, okay, there are things like crystal bowls, okay, which I love. Tibetan bowls. I mean, I'm a Tibetan bowl girl, not a crystal bowl girl. So Tibetan bowls, chimes, gongs, maybe instruments like harps or guitars. You might use something different like that, a piano. There are instruments all play notes, but some of these particular ones that are used in sound healing are tuned very specifically to frequencies and are very pure, and your body recognizes them as something that it needs. And there's a law in sound healing that if you have an unbalanced frequency and a balanced frequency, the unbalanced one will raise up and match the balanced frequency. So that's basically what we're doing with sound healing. We with our poor diet, our stress, our lack of sleep, our aggravation, all the stuff we do to ourselves, we get out of tune. And we're distorted in our frequency, and we can't connect anymore to our higher self, to our creator. We feel disconnected, right? And we don't even know how to heal ourselves. We're just running to the doctor. Give me more medicine, you know? So with the sound frequencies, you introduce them to the body, and they remind the body of the place of harmony and balance. And as they do that, your cells listen. Your 50 or 60, 70 trillion cells we have in the body, they're listening to those vibrations, because vibration travels through water, and our bodies are mostly water, and it just travels right through the body and says, listen to me. This is where we need to be. Now, before I finish, let me tell you the most amazing story about this fork and how it really changed or confirmed this direction that I needed to get certified in sound healing, because this is the fork that changed everything for me. I was working just at the beginning when I was taking my phase 1 class from Soma Energetics. I was just taking that course and practicing on my husband. And when I brought this tuning fork to the throat area and was working over it as instructed, he was on a massage table. And as the fork passed this area, he fell into a deep sleep and began to act like he was dreaming, but it was a restless dream. He was like this, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But I didn't want to wake him up, because trust the process, and I'm learning, right? So nothing bad's happening to him as far as I could tell, but I could pretty much think he was having some kind of traumatic event in a dreamlike state. And so I finished this fork, went on to my last fork in the series, right? And then he wakes up and I'm like, so what happened to you? What was your experience like? And he said, when you used that fork over my throat chakra, he said, I had a vision of being a very young child, and I was in the hospital, on a hospital bed, strapped down, and a doctor walked into the room. Well, that was not a vision. That was a memory recall. Because when my husband was 18 months old, he had spinal meningitis, and he had to go into the hospital for a couple weeks. And during that time, they had to strap his hands and legs and body down so he wouldn't move. I'm not sure why they did that, but maybe that's how they treated it back then. I hope it's different now, because it was very traumatic for him at 18 months old. So his body remembered the event, remembered the trauma, but buried it from his memory. He had no actual recollection of this. He only knew the story because his mother and sister told him about it. And he got very close to death during this time, and his arm was frozen up like this on his head, and his one eye was turned in, and basically they said he'd never walk again. The arm would never come down, and he'd never be normal. But his mom and dad, they loved him so much, and they worked with him when he got home, and he was completely recovered, except for that traumatic memory still lodged in that area of the body. So the tuning fork found that distortion, found that trauma that was buried there, and said, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You can release this. And it brought in these loving energies that allowed that memory to surface to his conscious mind so that he could release it and move forward. And prior to this time, he could never sleep on his back because he was strapped down on his back, and he never knew why he couldn't do that. But after the tuning fork therapy, he would often find himself sleeping on his back or laying on his back and not actually being bothered by it. So this is how amazing sound therapy is. It's working at a vibrational level, and it's shifting your perspective. It's helping you to get more willpower. It's helping you to change in areas that you haven't been able to change before because you were carrying a frequency that didn't resonate with health and vitality. So in closing, I want to show you, just like I said, you could also have a different instrument. And this particular Tibetan bowl is also tuned to the throat chakra. And it sounds completely different than a tuning fork. Very relaxing. But when I tap this bowl and you listen to the frequency, just imagine that it's going into this throat chakra area. Breathe it into that area. And if you feel any tension, just blow it out. And see if you can feel the frequency, which can travel over the distance. So don't worry about that. If it is shifting things for you in the area of communication and personal expression. Thank you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that I perked your interest in sound healing therapies. I do plan to do more videos once I get the right equipment, and maybe you'll join me and learn more about this. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.